Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to show you a new little tool I just picked up. A nice little upgrade for my drill press. So I just picked this guy up off Facebook Marketplace. It's a nice, decent, pretty heavy duty drill press vise. It does also have the ability to tip and angle. So you loosen these guys, you loosen this, and you can pivot it and angle it up. So that's going to be useful for lots of interesting holes at weird angles. Unfortunately, there is one big problem with this that I didn't see before I bought it. But that's okay, because I think I paid 20 bucks for it, so I'm happy. But if we wind this open, you'll see a lot of Bondo. Bondo does not belong on a vise. So someone has had a good go at this, just abused the heck out of it, drilled a bunch of holes into the vise instead of, into the middle or paying attention, and then did that like about 1,000 times. So I can't just leave it like this. I mean, a normal person could probably leave it like this, but I can't leave it like this. So we're going to dismantle this, take it apart. I'm going to chip all of this out, and then I'm going to fill this all back in with weld, grind it smooth, and hopefully it goes back together again. I can't really guarantee, but hey, I figure I'll give it a shot. So there's that pivoting mechanism. So it looks like there's some washers that live there. So that basically, you would have that up like this, and that would then hold it in place. Deal with the base later. Can pivot, so maybe it's not necessarily drill pressy, because usually those don't pivot, but take out a big honking screwdriver. Oh, doesn't even need to be big and honking. That was just loose. Comes out. Might as well take the screw out for good measure. Okay, so this right here is the part that we're actually most concerned about. So really what we gotta do is just chip all this nastiness out to expose the horrors within. So yeah, I'm going to keep getting rid of all this goo and then take the rest of that apart and check back in with you. Alright, so there's all the parts of the vise taken apart, and before I do any sort of actual repair, first thing I gotta do is get to cleaning. Alright, parts washer's not up and running anymore. It needs a new pump, but it's at least a good place to scrub some stuff and make a mess. Or not make a mess. Alright, so I got it cleaned up. That was last night, and it's already started to flash rust, so better get to it pretty quick. You can see the damage is a lot worse than I thought. Some of these holes are actually really deep. So what I'm actually going to do before I start trying to fill this all in with weld is I'm going to take the grinder, kind of open up some of these gaps so I can have a little bit bigger hole, so I can basically fill it and not leave a gap, because that hole's so deep there's going to definitely be a void in the bottom. So that's the current plan. I guess I'm going to go for it. Alright, there we go. Nice and smoky. I've got it under some gloves right now. That way it'll try to cool a little bit slower. So I'm going to just sit down and forget about this for a couple hours. Yeah, it didn't really occur to me. There's a chance that I might not be welding onto steel. So MIG probably wasn't the best process. Probably should have used a certain type of stick electrode. That would have been better. Or I could have just said screw it and just brazed it on. It wouldn't have been anything structural, but it would have at least filled the holes. But time will tell. We'll see what's going on. Like I said, I'll come back to this in a couple hours and we'll see what we're working with. Alright, there we go. It's cooled down now. I definitely have a little bit of porosity. I'm not sure if maybe this is something that doesn't really want to be welded to, or if there's just so much contamination. I thought I cleaned out most of it, but there was some grease kind of leaking down right here as I was welding. So that might have caused all of that. But again, this is it's probably not perfect, but it's still better than Bondo. So I am going to start grinding this away. And if I really need to, I might take it and bring it to work and see if I can't use the milling machine. But for now, I'm going to try to grind it with the grinding disc, and then see if I can't use my file to kind of square up all these edges. Basically, I'm going to try to use the original casting, or the original machining, as a reference to keep this stuff clean. Alright guys, it's the next day. It's all cooled off. So now I'm going to just try to take most of it down with the flap disc, and then try to finish off the rest with a file. Alright, we're definitely looking better, getting flatter. I definitely got some voids and a whole bunch of porosity right there. I think that was probably down to it not being fully cleaned. But again, I want to use this, I don't want to look at it, and filling it with metal is going to definitely be better than filling it with body filler. So now I'm going to take my big ass file and try to level this. I might actually need a different file because while this is hard, some of this weld, especially this really porous bit right there, that might actually be harder. Because the actual vise cuts, but it just skates over the weld. So I was hoping I was going to be able to use this. I might not be able to. So in that case, I guess I'll have to take it in and use a mill. So, looks like this is going to need some professional machining. So I will go take it to a professional machine. Unfortunately, I won't really be able to, probably won't be able to bring you along, though there's a chance. But I'll see what I can't do about that, and we'll meet back. Okay, we're in the wood shop. Just took the vise to the mill at work. Did that to get most of the welds down. It's really close, but I didn't want to actually get into the bed. Basically, I touched off on the bed and then moved sideways, but it's still a little not quite level. So what we're going to do is take my sharpening stone, and we're going to basically, instead of having like a knife hone on the stone, we're going to use the stone to hone down the bed of the vise. So that'll should hopefully give everything a nice smooth even grind, and that'll also get rid of some of the tool marks. So you can see right there, you can see some of the tool paths from the end mill. I also went a little bit deep right here. Apparently I guess this isn't perfectly even because I touched off here and then moved over and I started digging in. That's like a couple thou difference, just enough to feel. But what we're going to do is take my sharpening stone and just run it across. A little bit of honing oil. Alright, that's pretty good. Now we'll take our moving jaw, and that slides nice and smooth. I don't feel any sort of bump or anything. So I think we're pretty good. So now let's go back to the garage and start reassembling this. Alright, there it is all laid out, nice and cleaned up. So time to reassemble. I'm going to start with the business end. We've got our sliding jaw. It's going to fit in there like a soap. Then I'm going to do a little flip. And then we've got this plate. And from the looks of it, the way it's been running, there's some scuffs on this side. So that's the side that goes down. And that's what holds this piece together. Alright, let's also squirt a little bit of WD-40 on all this. partially to keep everything sliding nice and smoothly, and then also to keep it from rusting, because I could probably paint this, and it looks like it may have been painted a silver at some point, but I'm going to leave that how it is, and just rely on some WD for the rust proofing. Also, I forgot to clean out the swarf out of this hole. So now we'll take our handle, we'll thread it in, keeping those threads nice and lubed. Now I've got this little screw in here, pull that out. That'll fit in. Put the little set screw back in. And that's what holds the jaw. Ooh, should be what holds the jaw. Guess I didn't have it. Oh, okay, yeah, I was a little off. That's what will hold the jaw in. Alright, that little screw is what holds the jaw in place so that it can't slide forward. And lets me retract it nice and smoothly. Alright, so I'm just going to dial this all the way in for now. Now we can turn our attention over to the base. So the actual base part of it right here actually has some graduations, so you can index it kind of correctly. I'm not sure, I didn't see any sort of pointer on this, but either way, it's nice to know that underneath all that gunk there are some nice indexing marks. All right. A little more WD. And then this sits in that kind of circle-y bit. And this is our actual sort of stop or locking mechanism. So we've got bolts on either side that go through to this bar. And then you cinch those down, and it's pretty stuck. Obviously, you tighten it with a wrench. So now, what we do is we're going to take the vise, sit that on there like a so, and we're going to take the big old rod, push that through, and then this should be lubricated. Just going to stick that through like so. And I'm not going to make this super tight because we want this to be able to pivot. But we are going to make it tight. There we go. So it'll hold itself, but only just. Now, the final part, these little side guys. So that's going to go on like so. There was a bolt that had a unfortunate accident at some point. Then we've got a washer on the inside right there to keep it away from the actual side of the vise. This one I know is 3/4, so we're using we're going to use the actual 3/4 wrench. Alright, now you can see how that works. This guy pivots, and then you can cinch that down to set your angle. And we've got one more on the other side to do. Alright, so there we go. One vintage vise, not restored, but definitely refurbished, ready to go back into service. So let's go put it on the drill press. Okay, so for no reason other than why the hell not, let's drill a hole through the through this piece of offcut plate at a 10-degree angle. So this guy does actually have a scale of graduations, and there is a 0 mark. Likewise, for the rotation, there's also a 0 mark right here. So we can actually use this to change angles. So yeah, really no place in particular, but we'll just see how it does. I probably could have had that set a little tighter. But that is definitely at an angle. It's probably 10 degrees. I could measure this with a little angle cube. Alrighty then, that's going to be it for today. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. This is pretty brutal. Why would you fill this with Bondo? At least like JB Weld. I can respect JB Weld.